Welcome to day 28 of our December marathon, and we just wrapped up watching AEW Worlds End, and it was a great pay-per-view. I really cannot complain.
A very solid show overall. Not going to be the best show of the year, but a very good, consistent night where you have a lot of good matches. So the winners, like you mentioned, are kind of questionable, and I definitely think that things should have went a different route, but we'll see kind of how things unfold in the following weeks.
And we're going to jump straight into our first match of the night, which was Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita. And this is obviously your semifinals of the Continental Classic. The winner will go on to the finals on the same night and have a double match night. But we see Konosuke Takeshita get the win here. Now, this is the big kind of controversy to me. I don't know how everyone else online feels about. Oh yeah, Takeshita didn't win. Sorry, Okada won. But this is the big controversy right now to me. Like the biggest kind of like, what are you thinking? I feel like this was just a definite Takeshita should have won. Yeah, he was just my guy going into it. Maybe it's just a lot of biasness going into it potentially, but I did really feel strongly about Takeshita winning.
Yeah, it does feel like a little bit of a surprise. Definitely wouldn't have booked it myself, but I don't hate the decision. And obviously, Okada being the defending Continental Champion, it kind of makes sense for him to go into the finals to be able to defend it. Obviously, it would have been nice to have a new winner no matter what, whether it had been Takeshita going into that final match versus either Fletcher or Moxley. I think that would have been a better match, but having Okada win doesn't end things for, obviously, the Takeshita and Okada story. I think there's obviously a lot more to go on. Yeah, their match wasn't the best either. It definitely feels like they held back a little bit, so maybe that next match we will see obviously a lot more going on, but yeah, a solid match nonetheless, but definitely an interesting winner.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the match was definitely, like, I thought going into this match, this was going to be a match of the night contender, one of the best matches on the night, and we definitely didn't get nowhere near that. This was probably even my worst match of the night. Potentially, I mean, we could think about it a little bit more once we finish this video. But yeah, definitely didn't like it. The finish with the screwdriver and all that, definitely did not like that either. But that would sort of play into a story a little bit later on into the night. But speaking of that, it would play into this match because our very next match is Jon Moxley versus Kyle Fletcher. And this actually was a banger. I did disagree with the winner of this match being Jon Moxley. However, the match itself was great. It was amazing, and I did really, really enjoy it. So I do kind of forgive of the winner, and Jon Moxley winning. I mean, the babyface reactions that he was getting throughout this match, the amount of just hard-hitting shots that Kyle Fletcher was kind of giving the Moxley to try to keep up with his aggressive offense that he sort of has in his matches. It was amazing to see, and they both worked really well together, and I was happy to see Jon Moxley get the win regardless of me thinking Fletcher should have won.
Yeah, this is a match I didn't think I would like so much. Obviously, these two guys aren't their very like matching styles. They don't really have the same kind of tendencies. But when they got in the ring tonight, they made an amazing match. Both men brought out some of their biggest moves. We've seen a brainbuster on the apron from Fletcher to Moxley. We've seen Moxley get sent into the steps. At one point, Moxley ended up breaking his tooth as well, which was kind of cool. But also, I can imagine that hurts really bad. And then we've seen a big avalanche suplex from Moxley to Fletcher, where Fletcher landed on the back of his head in a little bit. So yeah, that kind of dazed him up. And then like you mentioned, when the end we see Fletcher kind of go for a screwdriver that was kind of, I guess, set up for him by Don Callis, but Okada used it earlier in the night, and he was already mentioned before that he didn't watch the match, so that kind of plays to the finish where Moxley kind of gets one last chokehold in and eventually submits Fletcher.
Yeah, it was a very fun match. I definitely enjoyed it. And I think the big talking point coming out of this match, kind of leading into the finals of the Continental Classic, was Jon Moxley walked out of this match, yes, the winner, but he also walked out with a hurt leg, a hurt ankle. That's kind of the point of attack that Kyle Fletcher went after during this match. But very good match, and I did really enjoy this. However, our third match is going to be a tag team match where it was a little less to be enjoyed, but however, they did make the most out of what they had with a Chicago street fight between FTR and the Bang Bang Gang, Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn, and it was a pretty good match. Nothing too crazy really happened to this match. It's your, I guess, a typical hardcore tag team match, I suppose, but there's a lot of fun moments in here, and FTR has kind of proven why they did or at least are one of the best tag teams in AEW, and I did really enjoy this match.
Yeah, Bang Bang Gang, for the most part, kind of got separated and kind of just dominated throughout the entire match. At one point, it felt for a good like 5 minutes. Juice Robinson was just getting his ass beat with a chair. He was getting put in a leg lock. There, Stokely got in the action as well. But yeah, this match was solid. I think it was a good kind of Kickstarter of this FTR reign. I think there's still a little bit more time to go before we do see some real threats kind of start to jump at them. I think a Jet Speed tag team match going into next year would be a really fun match. But yeah, this is a good defense from FTR. We've seen Stokely try to get involved, and Juice Robinson would kind of push him off the apron. Was supposed to go into a table, but he kind of misses it, but his legs clip it, and then the table kind of falls on top of him, which was obviously not meant to be, but it was a kind of still a funny moment. But yeah, pretty solid match and a good, I guess, like I said, started match for this FTR reign.
And we're going to stay in the tag team division, except on the women's side this time, because we have the Babes of Wrath going against Mercedes Moné and Athena. And in my opinion, at least, this is the better of the two tag matches. I just really enjoyed this one. Maybe in-ring wise and stuff, I can see a lot of people probably enjoying the FTR one a lot more, of course. But this one, I just really enjoyed this in-ring storytelling of it. I enjoyed just watching Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale just in general. And of course, Mercedes and Athena are two of the best wrestlers in AEW currently. So there was a perfect mesh of kind of what I wanted to see. And it was a great title defense for Willow to get over, especially with her getting the pin over Mercedes, being the only person to pin Mercedes twice since she left WWE.
Yeah, this was a very good first big pay-per-view defense for Babes of Wrath, and I'm glad this is a good way to kind of kick things off to hopefully continue this being a consistent thing that the title gets defended on the shows. But yeah, this was a great match. Mercedes obviously having her temper tantrum after the match and then realizing she lost again to Willow Nightingale. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting story how that unfolds. Maybe we see Willow Nightingale become a two-time champ potentially, maybe defeating her next week. They have a match announced later in the night that next week they will have a match with each other. So yeah, very cool stuff going on. Harley Cameron definitely impressed me as well. She's seen a lot more different things from her. Kind of got a little more active, got a little more time, and yeah, overall just everybody meshed well. That you kind of hit it on the head as well. You kind of seen everything got in this match. You got good in-ring storytelling, good ring action, and overall just a good match.
Yeah, and then a match we didn't expect to get as crazy as it did get was Darby Allin versus Gabe Kidd. Now, this is a normal singles match. There's no stipulation or anything, which I did sort of disagree with going into the match. And when they put this on the card, I was like, it's kind of a match you probably want a stipulation on. However, you might as well have just made this a hardcore match because they were both bloody by the end of this match. They beat the hell out of each other for, it says it was 12 minutes. It definitely felt a lot longer than that. But it was a really good match, and I enjoyed it. Wasn't the best Darby Allin match or Gabe Kidd match or anything, but you know, they did their job and they just beat the shit out of each other for a little bit.
Yeah, when you look at the aftermath from both men when the match is over and you find out there's no weapons involved, I think it goes to show how good they are and able to make just the actual moves itself and the actual hits they're getting on each other feel a lot more impactful. Gabe Kidd walking this match with a full bloody face, getting kind of surprise pinned by Darby, so Darby getting his kind of lick back and kind of going back, I guess, towards the Death Riders and potentially re-kicking that off. We'll kind of see how that plays out going later. But yeah, a very solid match. Good. Hopefully Darby Allin continues this momentum into something bigger heading into 2026.
Yeah, and we're going to continue on to our next match where we have the Mixed Nuts Mayhem match where we have Timeless Tony Storm, Roderick Strong, and the conglomeration of Mark Briscoe and Orange Cassidy defeating the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, and Marina Shafir. Now, oddly, tonight we didn't see a single glimpse of Pac. I don't know if that's something to kind of take note of for the future, or maybe he just couldn't be here for the show, simple as that. But definitely something to take note of for the future and see, kind of look more into that as we kind of get more information on the night. But this was another really, really fun match. I definitely enjoyed this when they did it the right way. I always believe that when there's more than two people on each tag team, you should always do it tornado style, and they did exactly that with this match. You've seen a little bit of intergender wrestling a little bit here and there. Probably my favorite point of this match being Claudio Castagnoli doing the swing to Tony Storm. Probably my favorite point of this match, but there's a lot of good stuff to enjoy here.
Yeah, this was a perfect balance of fun in-ring action as well as just funny moments. Obviously, when you have Tony Storm and some of these like kind of crazy kind of name stipulations, you'll get some funny moments. But yeah, this was perfect, well done. Like you said, there wasn't a lot of intergender action, but there's enough to kind of satisfy you a bit. And yeah, it was a good fun match to get a lot of these big name people that you want to have on the card. And yeah, just an overall fun match. And yeah, we'll see kind of where the Death Riders stand now. I believe they have Moxley now in the finals, but we'll kind of see where they lie in the night.
Yeah, a cool little moment from this match as well with Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy, where they were having a little dance off in the middle of the ring, and they were also kind of attacking other people in the middle of their dancing and stuff. Really cool moment I just wanted to note as well. But our next match is going to be our AEW Women's World Championship match with Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter. Now the build to this one was basically Jamie Hayter kind of accidentally giving Chris Statlander the Haterade, kind of taking her down on accident, but then kind of not really regretting it at the end of it, and that's sort of what led into this match. And I went into it thinking Jamie Hayter was going to win. However, Chris Statlander did come out on top tonight.
Yeah, this is a very good match. One of my favorite matches of the night, honestly. And yeah, this has really proved why Jamie Hayter should be back in this world title picture. After trying to go for her second world champion. And yeah, Chris Statlander proved herself. We see a little more of a cocky side from her throughout the night. There's a lot of moments where you thought that she kind of should go for the pin, but she either went for another move to kind of just tack on more damage. But in the end, she does still pick up the win. So yeah, Chris Statlander potentially going to a heel. We'll kind of see how that plays out. Maybe it was just her kind of, talking shit back to Jamie after she did her talking. So yeah, cool, really fun match, and yeah, good defense to kind of continue this Chris Statlander reign. And I definitely want these to interact again down the line. I wouldn't mind Jamie be the one to defeat Chris Statlander down the line.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think also Chris Statlander is kind of going to be looking for a new opponent. I'm not necessarily sure who that'll be. I don't think you want to reintroduce a Tony Storm or a Mercedes. You could also, like you mentioned, rerun Jamie Hayter back. I definitely wouldn't mind that, especially if she's going to be the one to take the title off of her. But we're going to get right into our Continental Classic Finals now, where Jon Moxley defeats Okada and becomes your new Continental Classic champion.
Yeah, I believe this is Moxie's third attempt in the Continental Classic, and he finally gets his big win here. Very fun match. We've seen Moxley kind of come into this match, obviously, with a hurt leg, so you kind of thought the odds were going to not be in his favor, but he manages to come out on top. Moxley just kind of did get his ass beat for most of this match, but in the end, the heart, his passion, which he kind of cut a promo before the match, or early in the night that we've seen before the match, it was a cool little promo. So yeah, Moxley kind of just showing what he has to offer still. We've seen a little more of a babyface side of him, like we mentioned in the earlier match, with getting more cheers, and then after the match as well, his little post-game celebration, he also kind of gave off more babyface vibes. So we'll kind of see what that entails for the Death Riders, whether they all align with that and they kind of agree with the same sentiment, or this is kind of something that ends up being the reason or the catalyst for the Death Riders to end up turning on Moxley. But yeah, this match was really fun. Probably not the best Continental Classic final match we've seen. I think last year's with Ospreay and Okada was better, but yeah, Moxley getting the win here, proving that he is the ace of the promotion. Yeah, one of the best. So yeah, glad Moxley gets the big win.
Yeah, I definitely didn't love this match from top to bottom or anything like that, but I do feel like they made the right choice, as in if you had to pick between these two people, I definitely would have chosen Moxley. I would have obviously had to catch the win the whole thing. That would have been my preference. But Jon Moxley wanted the babyface's reaction he was getting. It was almost like one of those Dominic Mysterio things where it's like, well, I mean, he's heel, but he's babyface, so like we should probably let him win a little bit. And he just went on this long losing streak and everything before entering the Continental Classic, so it was really cool of him to kind of get to this point of winning. And then he cuts that cool promo before the match and then after the match as well, kind of telling everybody on the roster, good job, thank you for stepping up. They definitely had me a little bit confused for a while, because I definitely thought when the Death Riders entered the ring, I thought it was over for Moxley. I thought they were about to break his leg. I thought Claudio was about to swing his ass around, but I definitely didn't end up happening. They kind of embraced him, at least for now, as you mentioned. But we're going into our main event, a fatal four-way match for the AEW World Championship, where MJF defeated Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, and Hangman Adam Page in a banger main event.
Yeah, this is a very fun match. We got to see everybody kind of get their licks in on one another. We finally got a big moment between Swerve and Hangman where I'm glad they didn't do a typical thing where they didn't want to hit each other. They kind of just actually got in with each other. So yeah, very fun match. MJF getting the win, I think, definitely isn't a bad call. I am surprised though, considering I feel like it would have been a better story if you want MJF to have the belt to just run Hangman MJF again, but MJF just gets the win. So kind of see, I guess, where Hangman gets his next opportunity, if he will get another opportunity anytime soon. But yeah, I'm glad that we do have a new champion. I think Samoa Joe would have been the worst call to win the match, just because it felt like a new champion should be here. Samoa Joe, obviously, I do still enjoy him, but it doesn't feel like his time is right now with the world champion. I like one of these other three guys a little bit more. So yeah, I'm glad MJF's back, and hopefully we see him a lot more consistently on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the choice of MJF getting the big win here. I love MJF. He's probably, arguably, the biggest star in the company that's kind of doing things outside of wrestling, of course. So it definitely makes sense in that perspective. And then him being the big bad heel right now kind of makes room for another big baby face to come through and take it over. Maybe they didn't like the run from Hangman, or they didn't like the reaction from Hangman was getting there. Whatever the case may be, wherever Tony took the title off of him, I think, like I mentioned, it just makes room for that new baby face to come in and get a huge win over someone like MJF rather than Samoa Joe. Not that Samoa Joe is like a slouch or anything, of course, but MJF being the world champion right now in this moment is a huge moment, being that he's kind of like on this high right now after everything that he's done off of wrestling, but also in wrestling with the storyline that he had with the Hurt Syndicate and everything. But this was a very good match. I definitely enjoyed the storytelling of it with Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, where they were kind of like, all right, we're gonna like be cool for now. We're not gonna fight each other, but once their asses get out the ring, I'm gonna kick your ass. And they definitely went at it. We seen Swerve Strickland go for a buckshot lariats. We seen Deadeye go from Swerve to Hangman as well. We seen Hangman hit the buckshot lariat on Swerve eventually as well. But a lot of good stuff happened through this match, and it was definitely a good one.
Yeah, that is the end. So what was your favorite match though of the night?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one to say what my favorite one of the night was, but if I had to pick, it might be Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter. Kind of a surprising one for me. I didn't necessarily expect it to be match of the night, considering the names that were on this card and the matches we had, but that match definitely was amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, I probably would go with the Moxley Fletcher match. I think it's, like I said, it wasn't a match I expected to be amazing. And then obviously with the result, obviously I ended up taking a little bit just because I did presume that Fletcher was going to win. But yeah, a very fun match. Moxley kind of showing that he doesn't need blood and weapons to have a good match still. He is still one of the best, and he's the best Shield member for a reason. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Have notifications on as we finish up our December marathon. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.